gonna cover how to create a Koa server. We'll add some routes to the Koa server that we create, and also we'll add Postgres so that we can actually interact with the Postgres SQL database and run few select insert queries on it, so that we can actually get an idea how to create a REST API. So to get started, let me just zoom out. Cool. To get started, first let's look at Koa. So you can go visit Koa's documentation on koajs.com. It's next generation web framework for Node.js. This is pretty good, and it's designed by the same team which designed Express.js. And if you already know how to use Express.js, understanding how Koa works and like getting started with Koa would be very easy. But even if you don't know, don't worry. We'll start from scratch by adding Koa and creating a service, so we'll be able to grab it. So the way it starts it, so Koa requires a minimum of Node 7. So yeah, to get started, you just need to install no Koa, and we can get started. So before starting with that, I also wanted to show one of the softwares which I'll use, one of the apps which I'll use called Insomnia. So this is really good app, and I use it a lot to actually look at the response from my REST APIs, and it also supports GraphQL and everything. So you can go to insomnia.rest and install their Insomnia core. Cool. Let's get started with it. So this is my project on the left, and I've got Insomnia open here on the top right corner, and on bottom left I've got my Postgres server up, like I've logged in into Postgres database. So I'm into Ajimatsu database. Let's just see all the tables which are present there. So let's look at the definition. So all the relations. So we have got a person database, and person has some data right now. So let's start from person. Cool. So let's get started in our project. So to get started, first thing which we'll do, since we are developing a node, and with node, what happens once you run node and a file, it compiles the file and runs the program, starts your server. But every time we change the file, we need to stop and restart the server. So we're gonna use an app called library called nodemon to actually not do that. So add it as your dev dependency, yarn add hyphen dev nodemon. Let's add that. It's added, and then we can come to our package.json, and let's add a script to actually, let's add the script called dev, and just do nodemon index.js. So index.js will be our file in which we'll write the code. So to get started, the first thing we would do is we can actually start the project now itself. So let's do yarn start, yarn dev. Cool. So it has started listening to our file. Now if I just do console.log uh, testing and save it, so you would actually see it logged, and also it restarted node. It listens to file changes anyway. So to get started with Koa, let's install Koa.js first. So we can see on its website. So the way it gets installed at npm I Koa. So Koa is the package name on npm. So we can just do yarn add Koa. Cool. It got added, and to just build a really simple server with Koa, we can just do we can import the Koa class from the Koa package. So it's imported. Let's create an instance, and the object which gets returned is actually the app. So let's just keep it an app, and we can do app dot listen to an port we want. Let's do 8080. This is the function which gets called once the service starts. So let's just say console.log server started at 8080 at port 8080. Cool. So one of the things we need to know with Koa is it actually has middlewares using use, and you can actually pass async, and so in these we get a context object, like there is no request response or anything, like you get everything in the context ctx. And let's do that. And if we just do ctx dot body equals, let's say, hello world, so it will execute all the middleware. So this is one of the middlewares, and it will add hello world to the body. So whenever we call localhost, this will get this as response. So we'll come to Insomnia on the top right corner. Already created an API called Node Koa server, so you can just go here, add, and then create a new request, new folder, the way you want to structure it. And let's just call localhost.8080. So if I call it, you can see I get a response called hello world. Okay, let's also add some routes routes to it. So to add no Koa route, so Koa is just like a web server which we get, and to add on top of that there are separate libraries which we need to use. So there's a library called Koa router, pardon me for that. So we'll use Koa router to actually get started and like adding the routes to our app. So all we need to do, the package name is Koa router, so let's just install that. Add Koa router. Cool. So as you can see, the router is added now. I'll just open Insomnia and terminal here so that it's better to focus. After adding a router, let's import the router. Constant router equals require Koa router, and let's instantiate router also. Router equals new router. Now to actually make the Koa app or the Koa server to use all the router and router module, let's add it as middleware. So we can do app.use router.routes, and we also need to do identify to use the allowed routes. Allowed methods. Cool. So now it will use the router module. So what we can do next is we can actually create a path. So let's do router.get and the default one. So we would actually get ctx here, and we can do ctx, which is the context dot body equals from route, or I should say from slash route. And let's delete this. Let's comment out this middleware for now, and also add another route. So let's say route dot router dot post. Let's call it add person, and again we would get context. And what we can do with here context here is context, sorry about that, ctx dot body equals from add person route. So now if we save the file, we can see our program restarted. Let's come to Insomnia and hit 8080, the default route, and we get the responses from slash route, which is this one, line 9, and let's hit add person. So now we need to take care of that, like this was get, so it worked. So add person is post, so we need to change here from get to post, and let's hit send. So we get add from add person route. So we have got some REST APIs up, and you can actually hit there and get data. So now let's start interact with Postgres SQL. And for example, let's add a route called router.get all person. So let's imagine it this way, that it will actually call our API, call our Postgres SQL, our database, and return all the uh, rows which are there in our person table. So to get started with it, we would actually add node Postgres. It's PG. So let's add PGJS. I covered PGJS in the previous video, so if you want to visit that, just go back and watch it. So I would do constant PG equals require PG. And so let's destructure it here itself. So in the previous tutorial I showed like importing pool from it. Pool actually creates a pool, and we can actually get a connection from it, a client from it, execute the queries, and then release the client. So it's really good and it's really faster. So that's what we use in apps. So we can do this and do constant. Let's also instantiate a pool equals new pool. uh, I'll not pass on any data, any configuration object here, so that what happens, PG actually uses the default configuration by default configuration, and all my default configuration is set to actually connect to my database, the port 5432 and stuff like that. So you can take a look on that. So let's get so now this is created, and let's actually create something. So in this one, let's make it an async function. Cool. Let's get the client here. Client equals await pool dot it will be pool dot connect, and this will actually give us a connection. And let's get into try catch now. We can just do constant res equals await client dot query. Let's run the query. Select star from person. Let's do ctx dot body equals res, and let's catch it in case any error happens. If error happens, let's just log the error for now. In real scenarios, you would actually log it to your server or send it to Splunk, so that you can actually later see what it was. And let's add ctx.body as something went wrong. And in finally, let's release the client. Cool. So this part is done. Let's see if it works. So if I come here, let's hit all person, and that's a get request. Let's send it. Cool. So okay, I did a mistake. I actually returned the whole response. Let's return the rows from the response. So rows, and now if we run it, so you get the data here, so which is ID1 test name. Now if I just insert another row here, insert into person name, uh, values. No need to worry about ID is a serial, so it will auto increment. Let's just say name 2 and execute it. Let's run the query here. Okay, so you can see we get the two names here. So this part is done. Now we actually know how to connect, and like now to add person, we would do something similar. Let's make it async, and let's get the client. Constant client equals await same pool dot connect. Let's put everything in try catch. And so we are gonna add a person here. So let's call await client dot query, and so the query would be insert into person, and as you already saw, the id is of type serial, so it's gonna auto increment. Let's just take name and the values. So regarding the values, in the previous tutorial we already covered the part about prepared statements or parameterized queries. So let's just pass here $1, and the second argument would be the actual parameters. So let's put a placeholder right here, for example name. Okay, so we have got this so far, and once we save it, okay, it will give an error because this try doesn't have catch. Catch error, and let's just console log error and move this here so that we actually send something back. In case of error, should be something went wrong. Okay, now that we have this thing, so we need to understand how we are gonna actually send back the part where user details are gonna come. So let's just go back to add person and make it a post request. So once we send it, we can, so name is not defined, our thing didn't compile, so let's add name as constant name equals test name. Now once we call it, so nothing happened, there was no result, but when we do select star from person, it actually got added. So test name got added here, but the thing is we actually need to send the value here. So for example, once you are calling this, let's send it in a let's select body, and in body we let's select of type JSON, and we should pass here, for example a user is submitting a form, name equals name from name submitted. Okay, and this would get called, so this is called body. And if you want to access the body of your request, there's another middleware which we need, called Koa body parser. So yarn add Koa body parser. Let's install that, just yarn add body parser, and what we are gonna do is let's import it. Constant body parser equals require Koa body parser, and we just need to do app.use body parser. Cool. And now if we come here and we console log context and send the request, we can actually see in our request we are getting method post, and we should see the body here. Dot request dot body. If I send the value again, so you can see we are getting the request in body, and now we can do name equals ctx dot request dot body. So now if we submit the form again and do this, you can see, oh, we should have done dot name dot name. Now if I send the request again and see, so the name submitted got added. Let's clean up this table a bit, so let's just do delete from person where id is greater than 1. So let's do select star from person and run our query now. So you can see the value got inserted. So this was cool. We learned a couple of things, which was how to create a core server, how to add routes to it, and how to add Postgres and run the Postgres query from it. Any questions, drop them down in comments below. I'll get to them as soon as I can. Thanks. All the best and happy coding.